Hello, and welcome to another Afternoon Idle, our Thursday edition, the 17th of December. What is that? How many? That day? I don't know. Day 5 in the 12 days of Christmas. If that's something that you're tracking. And our roof is done, so there won't be any hammering, and there won't be any people up on the roof and wandering around the house or around the house, which will mean that my neighbor's dogs will not bark, which will be super awesome. So expect it to be somewhat quiet on my end, which is good. Today is Thursday, and what we've been doing on these live streams is sort of switching up the order of what we normally do. So if you've not been here before, my name is Andrew. I'm a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. You can find out more about at unifiedmindfulness.com. I am many things in life, but I am not a licensed therapist or mental health professional. I am a meditator, and I've been doing this for a fair amount of time, and hopefully can answer questions that you may have and also defer when I don't know. So what we normally do is we do what I call a contrast sit. We take two techniques. One of them is usually going to have a more noting style structure. It'll be a more active style technique. And then we'll compare that, or we'll contrast it with a leaning back and a more expansive and open free range technique. And we call that technique do nothing. It's also roughly what the Do Nothing Project is named after, although if you've done do nothing sits, there is a little bit of something in a do nothing sit. And that contrast, my hope at least, is to demonstrate sort of that the in-between parts of the in-between aspect, which helps you, or has helped me to see more about what I need out of a given technique. And so hopefully that is what comes through. And if nothing else, you got 15 minutes of sort of stepping away and kind of hitting the pause button. So normally we do a technique at the front that's the active noting technique, and we do nothing at the end. But on Thursdays, we switch it up, and we'll start out with doing nothing, and then we'll finish with our something for the day. So today's something in honor of, partly the conversation yesterday at the end was about sounds around us. And so what we'll do as our technique at the end is just here. So that'll be our technique. And then we'll start out with the do nothing part. And I've noticed that we're getting a little bit more folks watching not necessarily watching live. We've got a loyal cadre of 3 to 5 people that are watching live, but we're getting a little bit more watching after the fact. And so occasionally I'll get questions sort of after the live stream. So I'll offer a little bit more around the technique today than I may have in the past. So we'll start out with the do nothing technique. And what that means in essence is that we'll be operating from this stance of letting whatever happens happen. And then if we happen to notice that we're trying to orchestrate or control our attention, we'll let that go. And so we just sort of repeatedly, in essence, are letting go of that. And then if we've let go of something maybe 2 or 3 times, we might consider just including that in whatever. That becomes whatever is happening. So we're in this, in essence, passive, choiceless awareness kind of stance of letting whatever happens. That'll be about 5 to 6 minutes. And then we'll shift into today's technique, our noting technique, which will be just here. So in Unified Mindfulness, we have 3, in essence, broad categories for how we can meet and connect with what's going on in our sensory experience. And that's see, hear, and feel. So see, as you might imagine, that includes our external vision, but it also includes an internal element of the mental image. So when our eyes are closed, we may have the sort of movie screen style of mental imagery that we have that may be very detailed or maybe like very black and white and low on the detail end. And we have here. Here is our auditory experience, what we hear around us, but also, like in C, includes the inner dimension of mental talk. And then finally, we have feel, and feel is including the external body sensations, so aches and pains, the feeling of the air on your skin. And then the inner component for feel is emotional body sensations. So what's going on, how emotional body or how emotions will show up in the body. So today we're just going to focus on that middle category here. And you can choose whether you want to focus on both here in and here out, or just narrow it to just sort of here out, depending on kind of what's alive around you. So that's where we're headed. To set expectations, we'll be doing that for about 15 minutes. And then you, as always, are welcome to do part of the technique and then shift into something else. You're always welcome to modify what I'm offering as guidance, depending on what's arising for you. So that's always something. So if you have a go-to practice or you work with a home base more often, you can always do that in the end and then just allow my guidance and my prompts to kind of fade into the background. So that's today's sort of docket, if you will. If you have any questions before we begin, you can always post those over in chat. And then also reports at the end. I always love hearing that. We've had some great reports in the last week or so around kind of what's come up for folks and then how they've responded to that. And it's been rather delightful as a coach to see the skill and wisdom in that dimension. So if you have anything in that, go ahead and share it. And I'm going to invite the bell and we'll begin. So again, today we're going to do just here, and we'll do that at the end, and we'll start out with do nothing. So I encourage you to adopt a posture that will help you to be both relaxed and alert. And that's the basic meditative state, one that is relaxed and alert. You can think of it as a posture that's upright and dignified. Some spatial cues that might help in orienting your body is the shoulders are usually over the hips, the nose is aligned with the navel, the ears either over the shoulders or at least parallel with them. And if it's comfortable, you can always tip the chin towards the chest a little or towards the sternum. And each of us holds tension in different places. There's some common locations for folks, so I usually check in those areas just to see if there's any tension. And sometimes as we notice the tension, it will release. So I check the forehead, around the eyes. I often squint, so I get some tension around the eyes, the jaw, the neck, the shoulders. If it feels good, you can always do a little bit of a tensing up the shoulders and letting them drop, a little bit of a shrug. And if the tension isn't releasing, it's our first opportunity to bring a no big deal attitude to what's going on. And then before we begin, we'll just do a few deliberate breaths, leaning on the wisdom of the 3 sages from the 5 boroughs, the Beastie Boys. Low and slow is the tempo that we're looking for. So if you can, breathe in through the nose, which will slow down the in-breath. Breathe out through the nose, accentuating and elongating the exhale. And in doing so, that allows us to breathe lower into the lungs. Begin to feel a little bit of a settling and potentially calming. We're cueing the nervous system for rest and relaxation. And then we'll begin with our do nothing practice. So, what are we doing? We're allowing whatever happens to happen. And we're not necessarily monitoring for if we're controlling our attention. We're just ready for if we notice spontaneously that we're directing or orchestrating what's going on in our attention. And if that is the case, we let it go. So, in the of questioning, what would doing nothing benefit someone? And this idea of allowing the attention to be free range and sort of stepping back and observing is a way for us to flex our equanimity muscle. Equanimity is just a fancy word for not pushing on our sensory experience and also not holding on to our sensory experience. So explore this stance for a bit. So in do nothing, we're allowing whatever's going on to kind of be there, almost treating it like it's none of our business. So they may be enticing thoughts where it's hard to not add to those thoughts or continue that train of thought. So if you notice that you're drawn in by that, it's okay. Just letting go of that and going back to that open stance, sort of allowing. And it's another chance to bring a no big deal quality. So each time we let go, we can be okay with being swept up by that. Good. So now we're going to leave that technique behind and we're going to take up one that's a bit more active. So again, we're going to begin using a noting practice. We'll focus on just here. If you want to narrow that to here out, so just sounds around you, etc., it's totally fine. Our instruction set is to notice where our attention is. And if it's outside of here, or here space, bring the attention back in. And soak our attention into when we're noticing a sound or noise, mental talk, and then labeling just simply here. And the label is just skillful thinking to allow us to remain in contact a little bit longer. And then allowing the attention to be free to move within here space or continue to note whatever's coming up. So explore just here. And if you're in an environment where there's not much sound, you can bring in the concept of rest. If there is no activation, then you can notice that and label it as rest. So I invite you to connect to your surroundings at your own pace. Maybe stretching, a shoulder shrug, wiggling your fingers, your toes. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for spending 20 plus minutes with me. If you have any questions or reports, I'm always game to hear those. If you need to be on with your day, have an excellent day. And then just a reminder, there's a group of meditation guides that went through Jeff Warren's How to Guide Meditation class earlier this year. And they're doing a mini retreat on Sunday, the 20th. It starts at 11 a.m. Eastern and runs until 3 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in attending that, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Leonards. That's Lenard as in David, S as in Sam. I believe my messages on Instagram are open, so you can message me. And I can get you a link so that you can attend on Sunday. And then that group this is their second mini meditation retreat. And this one, I think, is called Hit the Pause Button, which is during the holidays, a welcome sort of thing. So just a plug for that. I'm not guiding. I'm just kind of behind the scenes, or I'm sort of the MC for that. And it's been really rewarding to be part of that. Some really great guides, and so I appreciate that. So if that's something that you have time for on Sunday and you're not trying to run around and get gifts and all that other sort of stuff that may or may not be going on right now, so it's an option. We'll be back tomorrow. Fridays, I think I'm sort of doing Friendliness Fridays, so we'll probably do something along the lines of a nurture positive or a meta practice as our something. We can also think of it in the unified mindfulness terms as hear good, HEAR. So that will be kind of what's on the spectrum for that. And then I'll be doing this all next week. And then I may or may not, the week of the 28th, I may or may not be able to be doing them live. So I may do pre-recorded guidance that will get released at the same time. So there'll be a video that comes out on the hour at 1 p.m. Eastern, but I may not be live. So that's kind of what I'm playing with. The idea is that there's a chance I'm going to have Wi-Fi where I'm at, and so I might be able to do guidance, which would be kind of cool. It'd be like mixing it up a little. But I'm not certain, so it's kind of a bit of a fingers crossed thing. So we'll end a little early. I usually end around at the bottom of the hour, but go ahead and end. Have a great day.